So I just filmed the over 30 minutes talk of Wonder Woman because I watched it yesterday and I just had to talk about it. You're going to see it on Wednesday. So now let's get from a very strong female character to a very weak female character, shall we? So I finally finished Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. So this is the Discovering Jane Austen series. Let's talk about Mansfield Park. I read it for the first time and I just... Being upfront here, I did not enjoy it at all, I might say. Star rating wise, I would give it like maybe 2 stars. It was okay, but it wasn't good. I mean, it's Jane Austen. There is a certain level of writing style that is just her own, and it's still here in this novel, although I did have some problems. There are quite a few things in writing style that just were different from the books I've read before, and going to get into that a little bit. Let's talk about the plot first. So we have our main character is Fanny Price. She gets to, she gets to be basically adopted, or she gets taken in by her uncle, who is this rich Sir Bertram, Thomas Bertram, and by her aunt, Lady Bertram, and her other aunt, who is living in this county's parish, I think, like in the personage on the Mansfield Park. Like, I am not exactly sure how these things worked back then, but basically she's the wife of a, what do you say, pastor or priest? I'm not entirely sure what's the correct vocabulary here, but you get the idea. Her aunts are very different people. Fanny gets there when she's 10 and she grows up there, but she's always a bit put down by the family. She is not treated equally to Sir Thomas's daughters, Julia and Maria, who are a bit older than she, like 2 or 3 years, and Edmund, the second eldest son, basically takes her under his wing and looks out for her and gives her books to form her mind. In the end, she ends up marrying Edmund. And from the get-go, I knew that this was going to be the case. Like, the minute Edmund got introduced as this only kind person in Fanny's life at Mansfield Park, I was like, yeah, she's totally in love with him, and they're gonna end up together. And I was just like, oh, why though? Because keep in mind, they are cousins. I'm pretty sure that's not like... I was sitting there like, wait, isn't this incest? Like, ooh. And I know a lot of people are like that. A lot of people ship Jaime and Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones, but I'm like, this is gross. This is incest. I'm not here for this. And just to give you a little bit of like why I just found that so disgusting, my 2 like oldest cousins, they used to be here all the time with me. I did not know, like, I thought we were brother and sister. When I was younger, I did not understand that they were my cousins. I also have a very close relationship with most of my cousins. Most of them live here in the same village as I do. They don't even live 2 minutes from my home. And we've been together all of my life. And they are just the thought of, you know, having a relationship with them in like any kind of romantic way or sexual way. Oh, that's so disgusting. Oh, no. And it's like, it's okay in this book. Like, it's totally fine. Fanny is head over heels in love with Edmund for the entire fucking book. And she's not jealous, but yeah, no, she is a little bit jealous because Edmund is in love with Miss Crawford, and who is this person who visits like them and becomes a family associate and or like a family friend, and she and her brother are bringing a lot of harm to the family. And Edmund falls for her and is so in love with her, and that's like stretched out over what, a year or something. And he always talks to Fanny about it, because she's like his closest friend in the house, and talks to her about how much he loves her and about how he wants to marry her. And Fanny is like a bit, you know, she's a bit jealous but also hurt by it because she loves him so much. It's just, I was just sitting there like, no, girl, please. Overall, the plot, I found it read like a soap opera. There was too much he's into her, but she's not into him, and like lots of people having feelings but no one talks about them. And a lot of the plot, I think, was basically unnecessary. This is a long book. This is 300 pages long. The longest book, one of the 2 longest books in my collection, or of Jane Austen's novel. And I just, it was so boring at times, because we were just getting explained how people are feeling about each other. And not interested, and that is largely also because I found none of the characters in any way, shape or form interesting, or in a way that I could connect to them, or in a way that I was involved in their journey. Let's begin with Fanny. She annoyed me so much in the beginning, because she is super nervous, super timid. She never talks to anyone about anything. She never says what she really thinks, or she never, like, people treat her very badly, especially her aunt and her cousins, the girls, and she never really stands up for herself to anyone. And I find these kinds of characters super annoying. I don't like to read these kinds of characters. She is also crying because of everything. Everything is agitating to her and throwing her into a nervous breakdown. I just... so much frustration. Her Aunt Norris, she is the worst person ever. She is abusing Fanny mentally and verbally. Her aunt Bertram is utterly useless. She is this classic, basically, lady that doesn't do anything. She can't be bothered by anything. She can't take care of her household on her own. She can't, like, when she's doing some work, I think she's like doing carpet work or something, like she doesn't want to do the difficult part. She calls Fanny for that, like, do the difficult shit for me, girl, because I just want to do the easy things and the easy life. She does never form her own opinions on anything. Oh, so annoying. Julia and Maria were also, like, I mean, super vain and disgusting to Fanny, and just put her down all the time. And there was no character in this book that I actually cared for. No. Fanny grew on me a little bit in the middle, like really about 150 pages in. She grew on me a little bit because she just has to endure so much abuse, and she is treated so badly, and I mean, then I was like a little bit sorry for her. And I think the way she observes everything, like, she's a quiet observer, The thing is, she doesn't have the courage to tell other people or to speak up when she sees something, like Henry Crawford messing with Maria and Maria being a stupid idiot towards her Mr. Rushworth, who she's engaged with. Things like that. Being scared to speak up. That was just like, because I'm not a person who's afraid to speak up. If I'm not okay with someone or with something someone does, I'm going to tell this person. I'm not going to yell at them and put them down or anything, but I'm standing up for things I believe in. I'm standing up to people that I disagree with. And just so Fanny annoyed me just so much because she's fundamentally the opposite of me, of what I am and what I believe in. Yeah, so also I noticed lately or towards the end that every woman in this book who is taking action in some kind of way, speaking her mind, standing up for herself, pursuing like the guy she wants, or pursuing what they want in life, the way they are talked about in the book is in a very sexist way. All the women that take action are regarded as, or are made as a little bit villainous in the end. Maria, who is, taking action, she is, basically excluded from her family. She's bringing shame to the family. Mrs. Norris, Sir Thomas, he's basically casting her out, like, also, like, no, you are, like, stupid ass bitch and you're, like, mean to everyone, so he's, like, goodbye. Miss Crawford, who is in love with Edmund and pursuing him, she's made as villainous and, like, villainous, I'm using it as a loose term. It's not really, there's not really a real villain in this book, maybe like Mr. Crawford, but she is like not a good person because she is like talking insensitive about other people, like shit like that. And the only good women are the women who are quiet and timid and don't speak their mind and have like the opinions of the guys. And like, I mean, I know the time in which the book was written was very different from now, but I think all the other books that I've read so far from Jane Austen are standing their test of time, and you could easily translate them into today. So, and I think with this plot, it's not possible. This plot does heavily rely on the very, very, very old social structures that we have between men and women, what marriage means and what divorce means. Like Maria divorces Mr. Rushworth, she's shamed for the rest of her life, and he's like going on marrying the next woman, and so I hated it. Another thing I hated was Edmund. Just the way Edmund's and Fanny's relationship was so disgusting. I have to say it again. There's multiple occasions when he says to her that she's his sister, or that he's described as her brother, or looking at her in a brotherly way. And then they get married, like, disgusting. Also, he is totally like grooming Fanny. That's also mentioned a lot. Like, he is like forming her mind, giving her books, and like talking to her about things, setting her principles, shit like that, and talking to her about propriety. And he's basically grooming his wife. This is not disturbing to anyone. This is just me. like, no. Nothing in this book works for me. Nothing. All the people are awful. The plot is boring and disgusting at times. And it was such an effort to read this. Also, the writing style was weird at sometimes. There were parts when, you know, when in books when you have two people speaking and they are just, you know, speaking without he said, she said, or this person said and that person said. That was a lot in this book. Except it wasn't just two people, it was three or more people, and it was getting so confusing. I was so confused as to who was speaking right now. I was reading this and not knowing who said what most of the time. And also, this is, I think, the first book that Jane Austen, or that a narrator is really telling us it in a way that, like, I'm going to tell you this and that about that, or this is my opinion about this and that. And I was like, this is weird. I don't remember this being the case in Pride and Prejudice, or what was the first book? Sense and Sensibility. I don't know. This was such an effort to read. Like, this is basically the way that I imagined that I would feel about all of the books before doing this. But then I was so pleasantly surprised with Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice. Also, this book was lacking a sisterly bond. We had that sisterly bond in the first two books that I've read, or I had that, and I'd noticed that, and that was that carried a lot of the plot, or that carried a lot of the character for me. And then in this book, this sisterly relationship was lacking. And I'm not regarding Edmund as, like, that relationship as any kind of sisterly or brotherly or, oh dear Lord, no. Yeah. So I think that was all that I wanted to say about it. In conclusion, also, another thing, I just have to mention it, it was so frustrating when Mr. Crawford was like, I'm gonna marry Fanny, and Fanny was like, no, I don't want to, and she told everybody what she was feeling. She told everybody exactly what she was feeling about Mr. Crawford, that she didn't want to marry him. And everybody was like, oh, come on, Fanny, just take your time, you're gonna want to marry him eventually. Like, everybody was trying to talk her into it, and she was like, no, but I really don't want to marry him, I don't love him, and I don't see us ever being in love. And nobody was, you know, taking her word or taking her seriously. That was so frustrating, and that stretched out for so much of the book. It was so frustrating, and just reading this just infuriated me. We have that still in society, that men don't take women's word seriously and just, you know, disregard it and just trying to talk the women into things that they don't want to. But reading this book with all the other things that I hated just made it a very frustrating experience for me. Do not like this book. Do not, like, if you're new to Jane Austen, I would say start somewhere else. Don't read this book first. Alright, guys, that was it for today. Tell me what you think about Mansfield Park. Do you have problems with it? Do you have the same problems with it as I do, or some different problems? Do you like it? And if so, why? Please tell me why. I don't know. Alright, guys, so that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video in a way. But it was a bit ranty, but I really did not like this book. Hope you are reading something beautiful right now. Hope you're reading something magical. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you're not too distracted by the bird that is chirping outside of my window. But I had to open my window because it's so hot and there's a little bit of wind right now, and I just want to, you know, we don't have air conditioning in Germany in our houses typically. So anyways, not important. That was it for today, for real this time. Hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you soon. Bye!